Well, my life before I got ill and before I came to hospital was quite an active life. I enjoyed sport. I enjoyed karate, and I was just about to get my brown belt in karate, so that was a big sort of disappointment. But I did a lot. I loved gardening, I played croquet, I couldn't run or play tennis because I had a bad knee, and that was going to be sorted out. Yes, and just a life of fun, music, sport, gardening, eating out, cooking, reading, art, lots of things. So I was robbed of all of that when the lights went out. I was arranging ornaments on the shelf. I slipped and I fell off the table. And I was mad because I hurt my hip and I made a big noise and everybody came running. But I got up, I dusted myself, and I seemed to be okay. And I went off to look after my grandchildren on a train journey. And while I was there on the first day, I felt really as if I had flu, hot and sick. And I was at a toddler's club, and I was desperate to get my little grandson back to his house. And I felt I was very sleepy. And I opened the windows in February, the first week in February. It was very cold, and a poor little chap, all the windows wide open so that I could stay awake and get him home. And when I got back to my daughter's house, I told her I didn't feel well, and I went to lie down, and I slept for 6 hours. And then instead of staying another 2 nights, I went home the next day, still feeling very tired, totally lacking in energy. And I told my husband I was tired, and he said, overdoing things, why don't you go to bed early? And I went in the spare room and I went to sleep. And I woke up in the morning and I found my speech was slightly, my tongue felt thick. And I asked my husband, who is a doctor, retired consultant, do you think I had a mini stroke? And he said, well, everything is fine, your face, your hands, your speech is fine. But my daughter came in from next door, and she was angry that I'd gone off to Henley after my fall, and said, hospital, and get an x-ray of your head. And I went to the hospital, and I had the x-ray, and I could hear the doctor talking about possible stroke. But I carried on playing bridge on my phone. And then, in the end, they came along and said I needed a scan. And I went for the scan, and my memory is a blank. I don't remember how I got to a ward. I don't remember anything of that. I do remember being in intensive care unit, and I remember people asking me if I could see, and I said yes, I could see 2 of everything, and that's all really I remembered. My daughter came in and shouted, saying it was Claire, and my grandchildren were around. I could hear, but I couldn't see. And then the lights went out until eventually, I don't know when I woke up, but I woke up with the physios being involved. And I can tell you the physios were wonderful. I was as sick as a dog for a very long time. I had a tracheostomy, I had a ventilator. I could not talk, and I could only move my toes. And I heard Guillain-Barré being mentioned, and people talking about clots. Apparently, I had an exchange blood transfusion and got 3 clots, cerebral emboli, and 1 clot in the lung. And So I was in a very, very bad place. But I do remember physios pushing my chest a lot. And I do remember a lot of suctioning going on. I could hear the rhythm of the ventilator going, and I could not move anything. I couldn't move. My eyes were closed. I don't know for how long my eyes were closed, but I do know I was in the intensive care unit for over 7.5 months. And according to one of the physios, Paul, I was the longest patient there. And I went to Lane Fox first. Before I went there, I couldn't talk. And I could hear one of the consultants, Alex, saying they were trying to find a valve, a speaking valve, to fit on the cuff. And he's the one that really gave me my voice, because I did get fitted with that. And then Paul, the physio, was very concerned about my ankles and my feet and getting me to sit up. I've been lying down from first week in February until August, late August. And Paul got me to sit up a bit. I felt very wobbly. It's so scary. He was concerned about my feet. He was concerned about me wobbling. And he and Jasmine got me into a cycle machine. From that moment, I felt I was going to make it. I was going to get physical. And it inspired me a lot. The efforts they took to get me to, I was suspended in the air just to be vertical. All sorts of things, just here in my DGH. So when I went to Lane Fox in London, the physiotherapy department here, Paul, rang up and they wanted to know how I was getting on, and please take care of her, she's very special. And you know, honestly, the physios were just, I owe so much to them and to this hospital for having such a wonderful team of physios. And from that moment, when I went to Lane Fox, they told me that the physios had telephoned and they wanted to know what was happening and how could they help. Yes, and they did look after me there. And they really confirmed I had Guillain-Barré. I had all the nerve tests done. And they sent me to the respiratory unit at the Romeo Lane Fox unit. And the physios continued with the good work that had started here. And I managed to sit up, still wobbling like jelly, but sitting up. And I stayed there from September until the end of November. And I got a place at the Royal Putney Hospital for Neuroscience. And that was the very good, best place. I feel I've started in the best place here. I went for my respiratory recovery to Tommy's and Radio, and then again the physios there recommended that I went to Putney, and it was there where I actually in my sleep shouted out that I wanted to stand up, and it hurt me. And I stood up and I learned to walk, and I learned to walk to the extent that I copied Captain Tom with my wheelie and raised 8,500 for them. When this is closed, I want to do something for this hospital because it started here. Yes. So I came home on the 1st of July last year, and you know, you become institutionalized in a hospital. You have carers and nurses, and the physiotherapy department was quite amazing, and they worked well. They felt that I had the potential to make a very reasonable physical recovery from a terrible illness. And when I walked out of the ward, they were absolutely shocked because they said they'd never had a patient with my condition walking out so soon. And there were younger people than me with it. So, but it started here. The seeds were sown here, my team here. And I've gone from strength to strength, having come home and having continued physio, starting off with you, with Dawn, and now having Marika doing different things. And with coming here has been the sort of final step for me, because now they are looking at my body as a whole. It's not just about me walking in my groin. And today, for the first time, I'm feeling a little bit more floppy in my pelvis, and I'm walking with a bit more looseness, and my bottom is going more in. So that is really brilliant, and I'm looking forward to ticking that box and then doing the hands. When I came home, I could only move my hands like that, and now I'm going up there, and without lying on the bed, I can do it higher with a stick. If that is better, then I'm looking forward to doing aquarobic hydrotherapy so that I can get my muscles really loosened up. Yes, you are going to be shocked. I can go out of the front door with my Zimmer frame, lifting it up, putting it down on the threshold step down, and getting out by myself. Nobody's helping me with that, and I do the next step down there. I walk around the garden quite well. I've been to a concert where the toilet was very low, and I can get up. And very often it gets dark at night when we have a lot of rain. I'm now reaching the light. And I have a call bell around my neck. So I'm fairly active in the garden. I'm trying with my pair of scissors to deadhead flowers, and a little bit of success. I'm still working on that. I'm going to restaurants, and I'm eating by myself with the fork that you recommended. So I go out to restaurants with my own cutlery. I've come a long way, and I think I'm getting there quite quickly. You know, the thing is that I came here where I was having a lot of physio to get me up, walking about. And that was good for my chest and everything, as you know. But when I came here, I got holistic treatment, and it's continuing. And I am gaining. And a lot of people say, you know, it's a miracle that I'm alive. And I think it probably is. But the doctors did what they had to do. But without the physios, you have to progress with physiotherapy. And that's what I owe my life to. So, as soon as I'm better, I'm going to walk for you. I'm going to walk for this hospital. And any patient who wants to walk with me, I'll be happy to do that and raise funds for the physiotherapy department. Well, I think, I cannot thank this hospital enough for having such wonderful, incredible, dedicated and talented physiotherapists. They really are gold dust to this establishment, and I will do anything I can to support it and promote it. And, who would think here in Eastbourne you get such a good deal? You're in London, you don't get all these things. Here in Eastbourne, you actually get good follow-up.
So we'll take it.
Yeah, so I'm very lucky.